What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the episode of True Crime, Authors of the Story of People. Of course, I'm your man, David McClam. Hey, if you guys haven't already, make sure you follow us on all of our social media. One link to a link tree will get you every place you need to go pertaining to the show. And like I always like to remind you, if you feel like hurting yourself or someone else, please leave this episode on dial 988. It is the suicide prevention hotline. They can get you the help that they need. And in case no one else has told you this today, let me be the first to tell you I do care, and I do need you to be here. There is nothing worth your life. All right, guys, so welcome to the show, and I really wish I didn't have to keep covering cases like these, but because they keep happening, I have to. And as you guys know, my platform is all about truth, accountability, and I don't care what it may cost me. I'm going to always tell you the truth. And I'm always going to give you some education behind that. So with that said, today's episode is not going to be a comfortable one. And I'll say this to you from the top. This is not an episode that is built to make everybody feel good. This is not an episode when we tap dance around the truth and smooth the edges and pretend this is just another isolated tragedy, because it is not. Today, we are talking about Cyrus Carmack-Belton, a 14-year-old black child who walked into a store and never made it home. We are talking about Chow, the store owner who shot him. We are talking about the acquittal. We are talking about racial profiling. We are talking about the long, painful history between black communities and some Asian-owned businesses operating inside black neighborhoods. We are talking about boycotts. We are talking about the black dollar. We are talking about the ugly anti-Blackness that still shows up in stores, on social media, in viral videos, in dolls, in jokes, in murals, in attitudes, and in the way black children are treated as threats before they are treated as children. And before anybody tries to twist my words, let me make something very, very clear. I do not believe all Asian people are racist. I do not believe every Asian-owned business mistreats black people. I do not believe pain gives anybody permission to attack innocent people. But I also do not believe black people are required to keep spending money in places where we are watched, followed, disrespected, mocked, criminalized, and sometimes killed. Solidarity does not mean silence. And unity does not mean swallowing disrespect. And peace cannot be built on top of black people being told to calm down every time another one of our children is dead. So today we are going to talk about it. No sugarcoating, no soft shoe, no pulling punches. See, Cyrus Carmack-Belton was 14 years old. Let that sit with you for just a second. 14 years old. He's not a grown man. He's not some criminal mastermind, not a monster, but he's a child, a black boy, a son, a student, a young life still being formed. And on May 28th, 2023, Cyrus ran into a convenience store in Columbia, South Carolina. That store was operated by Chow. And according to prosecutors, Cyrus was wrongly suspected of stealing bottles of water. Water, not a car, not jewelry, not cash. Water. And even that accusation, according to prosecutors, was wrong. That is where this case begins, with suspicion. And that is important because black people know suspicion. We know what it feels like to walk into a store and feel eyes crawling across our back like spiders. We know what it feels like to be followed aisle to aisle. We know what it feels like to pick something up and immediately become a suspect. And we know what it feels like to be treated like that is written into our skin. And for Cyrus, that suspicion becomes fatal. See, the basic facts are devastating. Cyrus was inside the store. He was being watched. He was suspected of stealing water. That suspicion led to a confrontation. Cyrus left the store. Chow and his son chased him. They chased him more than 130 yards from the store. That detail matters because this was not inside the store. This was not someone trapped behind a counter. This was not a split-second moment at the cash register. This was a chase. A child was pursued down the road, and during that chase, Rick Chow shot Cyrus in the back. The defense argued that Cyrus had a gun and pointed it at Chow's son. They argued Rick Chow fired to protect his son. But the prosecution acknowledged that Cyrus had a gun, but they argued that the gun had fallen and that Cyrus never threatened anyone with it. Now, witnesses testified they did not see Cyrus point a gun, and the prosecution argued that Chow chased the child down and shot him in the back after wrongly believing he had stolen water. And I have the exact same question you guys do. Don't think I've glanced over it, which is, why in the world does Cyrus at 14 have a gun? That has never been answered, but that is also a big question that I have for that. And that is the moral center of this case. A child was suspected. A child was chased. A child was shot in the back. And the jury said Rick Chow was not guilty of murder. Now, on June 1st, 2026, Rick Chow was acquitted, not guilty. And for a lot of people, especially black people watching this case, that verdict landed like a familiar old wound reopening. Because we have seen this story before. We have seen black children turned into threats. We have seen black victims put on trial after death. We have seen defense arguments lean on fear, suspicion, and the idea that a black child's presence is enough to justify panic. And we have heard that same old question without anybody saying it out loud. What was he doing there? What was he carrying? Why did he run? Why did he look suspicious? Why was he in that store? But here is the question that matters. Why was an adult store owner chasing a 14-year-old more than 130 yards over an accusation that prosecutors said was false? Why was the suspicion worth more than the child's life? Why is it that when black children are scared, they are called dangerous? And why is it that when black children run, people act like that proves guilt? Why is it that when black children die, America suddenly becomes very interested in everything they ever did wrong, but not nearly as interested in the choices made by the adult who killed them? That is the sickness. That is the pattern. And that is why this case is bigger than one store. Now, the anger is not just about one verdict. The anger is not about the pattern. The anger is about being followed in stores. The anger is about being watched while spending money. The anger is about businesses setting up shop in black neighborhoods, surviving on black dollars, and then treating black customers like criminals. The anger is about black people being good enough to fund the register, but not good enough to be treated with dignity. That is why Cyrus's mother called for a boycott. And whether people agree with every single word of the boycott or not, they need to understand where it comes from. It comes from grief. It comes from exhaustion. It comes from generations of black people being told to be patient while our pain piles up. It comes from a mother who lost her child. And when a mother loses a child under these circumstances, she is not speaking from theory. She is speaking from the place where grief has teeth. So when she says, do not spend your money where they do not support you, that is not just a boycott slogan. That is a survival statement. Now let's talk about boycotts. Because some people are laughing online. Some people are mocking black people. Some people are saying, go ahead, boycott, you won't last. Some people are saying you can't boycott Asian businesses because Asians make everything. And let me say this clearly. That is a dangerous thing to say to black people because black people know how to boycott. See, we have been boycotting since before hashtags, before TikTok, before viral videos, before corporations had diversity statements written by public relations teams. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted 381 days. That was 381 days where black people walked to work. 381 days where black people organized carpools. 381 days where black people sacrificed comfort for dignity. Black people changed American history by refusing to keep funding their own humiliation. So when someone dares black people to boycott, they are playing with a history they clearly do not understand. Boycotting is not new to us. Strategic economic resistance is part of our political DNA. And it is not always about destroying someone else's business. Sometimes it's about finally building our own. That is the part people keep missing. See, the strongest version of this boycott cannot just be do not buy there. It has to become buy here instead. Support black-owned grocery stores. Support black-owned beauty supply businesses. Support black-owned restaurants. Support black-owned online shops. Support black-owned delivery services. Support black-owned corner stores. Support black farmers. Support black creators. Support black manufacturers where they exist and help create them where they do not. Because a boycott without a build is just an empty room, but a boycott with a build is a blueprint. Now, we recently saw another example of black economic organizing with Target boycott after Target rolled back parts of its diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments. There are different numbers floating around online about exactly how much Target lost, and I'm not going to repeat a number I can't verify. But what we do know is this. See, black consumers were being discussed as a major economic force. Organizers said black shoppers spend millions per day at Target. The boycott gained national attention, and Target's sales and foot traffic was impacted. Now, corporate leaders had to respond. That is the point. When black people organize economically, corporations notice. When black consumers stop spending, people start listening. And that is why the reaction to this current boycott has been so revealing. Because some people do not believe black people are disciplined enough to move as one. Some people believe our money is guaranteed. Some people believe they can disrespect us and still receive our dollars. And that is the mistake. The black dollar is not charity. The black dollar is not owed. The black dollar is a vote. And if a business treats black people like suspects, black people have every right to vote with their feet and their wallets. Now we need to talk history. Because this conversation did not start with Rick Chow, and it did not start with Cyrus. Black and Asian communities in America have a long, complicated history. There has been solidarity. There has been tension. There has been shared struggle. There has also been anti-Blackness. Both things can be true. And there were Asian Americans who stood with Black freedom movements. There were Black civil rights leaders whose work helped reshape American immigration policy. And the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 ended the old national origins quota system that had favored European immigration and restricted immigration from much of Asia. That law came out of the civil rights era. It was part of a larger national reckoning over racist laws. So when we talk about how many Asian communities were able to grow in the United States after 1965, we have to be honest. Black civil rights struggle helped pry open doors that America has slammed shut. That does not mean black people own anybody. That does not mean Asian Americans owe black people submission. But it does mean history should humble people. Because the rights people enjoy today were not delivered by magic. They were fought for. They were bled for. They were marched for. They were organized for. And black people were often on the front lines of that fight. So when some Asian business owners or influencers mock black people, dismiss black pain, or dare black people to boycott, they are not just being disrespectful in the present. They are being ignorant of the past. Now, this is the part some people will not want to hear. Anti-Blackness exists in parts of the Asian community. It does. We can say that without saying all Asian people are racist. We can say that without excusing anti-Asian hate. And we can say that without calling for violence, but we have to say it. Black people have experienced racism from some Asian store owners, some Asian beauty supply owners, some Asian social media users, some Asian families, some Asian cultural spaces, and some Asian businesses operating in Black neighborhoods. We have been followed. We have been talked down to. We have been overcharged. We have been disrespected. We have had our hair products controlled by people who do not respect our hair. We have had our culture consumed, but our humanity questioned. And we cannot have honest solidarity unless we name that. There is no real unity without accountability. And accountability can not only go one way. When anti-Asian violence happens, Black people are often told to stand up, speak up, and show solidarity. And many Black people have done exactly that. But when anti-Blackness shows up in Asian communities, too many people suddenly want nuance, patience, context, and silence. No, we need the same moral clarity. Racism against Asian people is wrong. Anti-Blackness from Asian people is wrong. Both are wrong, and neither one cancels out the other. Now, for many Black people, the Cyrus case echoes another name, Latasha Harlins. Latasha was 15 years old. In 1991, she was shot and killed in Los Angeles by a Korean store owner who accused her of stealing orange juice. Latasha had money in her hand. She was shot in the back of the head. The store owner was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, but she did not receive prison time. That case helped fuel rage in Los Angeles before the 1992 uprising. And here we are, decades later, still talking about Black children being treated like thieves and threats inside stores. Different city, different child, different facts, same wound. A Black child walks into a store. A suspicion forms. A confrontation escalates. A child dies. And afterwards, people debate whether the child deserved full humanity. That is why this story hurts so deeply. It feels old. It feels ancestral. It feels like America keeps changing the wallpaper in the same burning house. Now let's talk about the Natasha doll controversy. This is one of the ugliest things circulating online right now. The Natasha doll is being described as a dark-skinned, black-looking stress relief doll. Videos have surfaced showing people abusing the doll, punching it, stomping it, stretching it, running it over, pouring boiling hot water on it, and laughing. Now, some people will say, it is just a doll. No, it is never just a doll. When the doll is coded as a Black child and the content is built around degrading it, symbols matter. Images matter. Dehumanization matters. And because before people harm real human beings, they often rehearse disrespect through jokes, cartoons, dolls, memes, and stereotypes. This is how racism softens the ground. It turns people into objects. It turns children into punchlines. It turns cruelty into entertainment. And then when real harm happens, people act shocked. There are also claims online about an explanation for why the dark-skinned doll was targeted. I could not verify every viral statement, including the specific claim that someone said abusing the white doll would be sad or wrong to white people. But what has been reported is still disturbing. An alleged explanation claimed the white doll did not have the same ugly vibe, and that the darker doll's appeal was that it was ugly, abstract, and interesting. Even if that explanation is disputed, the fact that this became the conversation tells us something. It tells us Blackness is still being associated with ugliness and global culture. It tells us anti-Blackness is not only an American disease. It tells us whiteness is still treated as beauty, innocence, and protection, while Blackness is treated as something to mock, abuse, and discard. And that is exactly why Black people are angry. Because it is not one thing. It is the store. It is the verdict. It is the doll. It is the viral video. It is the mural. It is the joke. It is the following. It is the disrespect. And it is the pattern. Now, there have also been viral posts about a store in Greensboro, North Carolina, connected online to a hurry up and buy display or mural. People online have compared it to the famous hurry up and buy opening scene from the movie Menace to Society and other hood film references. Now, I want to be careful here. I have seen viral posts and social media claims, but I have not found enough traditional reporting to confirm every detail, the owner's intent, or the full context. The only thing I really have is there is a video that is going around that a woman shot where she was talking to a guy who was off camera, and he was saying that he believed that that was just put up after the Rick Chow verdict because he can remember it being there before and that he was appalled by it. But now here's what I can and will say. If a business operating around Black customers uses imagery or language that resembles a scene historically associated with Asian store owners mocking Black customers and Black cinema, then that business should expect backlash. Because context matters. Timing matters. Cultural memory matters. You cannot play in Black pain and then act confused when Black people respond. You cannot troll a grieving community and then ask why people are angry. And you cannot profit from Black neighborhoods while mocking the very people keeping your lights on. And if the intent was innocent, then the correction should be immediate, public, and humble. But if the intent was to provoke, then the response should be economic. No violence, no threats, no foolishness, just discipline. Do not spend money where you are mocked. Do not spend money where you are followed. Do not spend money where your child could be seen as a suspect before being seen as a human being. Now, let's address the viral video of an Asian man reportedly daring Black people to boycott Asian businesses and saying, in essence, go ahead, you won't do it because Asians make everything. That video has poured gasoline on an already burning conversation. Because what he did was not just arrogance. It was a challenge. And the danger of that challenge is that it misunderstands Black history. Black people have built resistance movements with less. Black people have created networks when institutions shut us out. Black people have built towns, newspapers, schools, churches, mutual aid societies, credit unions, farms, restaurants, funeral homes, beauty salons, barber shops, publishing houses, record labels, podcasts, channels, media companies, and entire economies under pressure. So when someone says, you cannot live without us, they are not making a business argument. They are making a domination argument. And Black people should reject that. Not with hate, not with violence, not with strategy. Because the answer to disrespect is not chaos. The answer is organization. And if we are serious, then let this moment become more than a boycott. Let it become a map. Where are the Black-owned alternatives? Who are the Black vendors? Who are the Black importers? Who are the Black manufacturers? Who are the Black-owned online marketplaces? Who can we support today? Who can we build tomorrow? That is how you turn insult into infrastructure. That is how you turn disrespect into discipline. And that is how you turn pain into power. Now, after I had written this for this episode, that guy, that Asian guy, removed that video. But there's something that he said in that video that irks me, that should be talked about, in which he said in that video, they didn't need us, that they had their businesses in white communities, and they was going to survive. Correction, in white communities? The truth is that Asian businesses are in Black communities because of the fact that white people didn't want them in their community. And no matter how much Asian businesses tried to fit in there, they didn't want them. So for this guy to sit here and say that their businesses are in white communities, well, I live in Palmdale, which is right outside of LA, and I've been to LA many times. And let me tell you, where Chinatown and Koreatown in LA is dead smack in the middle of a black community. So he lied there. No businesses. And there's even Asians that's making videos that's calling this dude out. That's saying if it wasn't for black people, over 20 million of us wouldn't even be here right now. And saying, no, all the businesses that we have is in predominantly black communities. All right, now to the Asian community members who are listening and who generally care about justice, this is not the moment to get defensive first. This is the moment to listen. If you are not racist, good. Then help confront the people who are. If you do not support what Rick Chow did, say that. If you do not support black customers being followed, say that. If you do not support anti-black jokes, dolls, videos, murals, or online trolling, then say that. If you own a business in a black neighborhood, ask yourself, do black customers feel respected here? Do my employees follow black shoppers? Do we treat children like threats? Do we take black money while avoiding black partnership? Do we hire from the neighborhood? Do we invest in the neighborhood? Do we know the community beyond the cash register? Because business without respect is extraction, and extraction eventually creates resistance. Real solidarity is not a photo op. Real solidarity is not a statement posted after the damage is done. Real solidarity is accountability before the boycott, not damage control after it. Now to my black community. I understand the anger. I share the anger. I stand in solidarity with my community because this happens to us too often. But we have to be strategic. Do not let people bait us into violence. Do not let people bait us into broad hatred. Do not let people bait us into saying things that distract from Cyrus. Because the moment this becomes about attacking random Asian people, the focus will shift away from the dead black child and onto whether black people are being too angry. We know how this works, so we have to be disciplined, spend intentionally, organize locally, create lists of black-owned alternatives, pressure elected officials, support Cyrus's family, demand transparency, demand civil accountability, demand stronger laws around armed pursuit over suspected shoplifting, demand that stores operating in black neighborhoods stop treating black customers like criminals, demand that business owners who profit from black communities invest in black communities, and most importantly, protect the children. Because, see, Cyrus was 14, Latasha was 15, Emmett Till was 14, Tamir Rice was 12, Trayvon Martin was 17. This country has a long history of looking at black children and seeing adult threats. This has to end. Now, at the center of this case is a question America keeps refusing to answer. What is the value of a black child's life? Is it worth more than 4 bottles of water? Is it worth more than suspicion? Is it worth more than fear? Is it worth more than a store owner's pride? Is it worth more than a stereotype? And is it worth more than a jury's doubt? Because every time a black child dies and the system shrugs, the answer feels terrifying. And that is why people are not just sad. They are furious. Because black people are tired of being told to respect systems that do not protect us. We are tired of being told to be peaceful after violence has already visited our homes. We are tired of being asked for nuance by people who never bring nuance to our dead. Cyrus Carmack-Belton should be alive. That is the sentence. That is the headline. That is the truth. He should be alive. So where do we go from here? We tell the truth. We say Cyrus's name. We do not let this become another case that fades after the outrage cycle moves on. We support the family. We follow the civil lawsuit. We watch how businesses respond. We watch how local leaders respond. We watch how communities organize. And remember that economic power is power. If your dollar is not respected, remove it. If your presence is criminalized, leave. If your community is mocked, organize. If your pain is dismissed, speak louder. But do it with discipline. Do it with purpose. Do it with memory. Because this is bigger than one store. This is about whether Black life is respected in the places Black money sustains. This is about whether Black children get to be children. This is about whether communities that claim to want solidarity are willing to confront anti-Blackness inside their own ranks. And this is about whether we, as Black people, are willing to build the alternatives we keep saying we need. Cyrus Carmack-Belton was 14 years old. He was accused. He was chased. He was shot in the back. And now his name joins a long list of Black children America failed to protect. But we do not have to fail his memory. Say his name, Cyrus Carmack-Belton, and ask yourself, where does your money go? Who does it empower? And what are you willing to stop funding? Now today, I pulled no punches, like I never do. I told you guys the truth. But I think there's a couple things that still needs to be said. One of them I'm going to say may not be agreed by somebody, but it's true. Again, I asked the question, why did Cyrus have a gun? Now, we may never get an answer to that question. I haven't seen anything where his mom or anybody, unless I've missed it, has said why he had a gun or they knew he had a gun or didn't know he had a gun. But let's look at the broader picture here. If Cyrus had intended to use that gun, he could have walked into the store, pulled the gun out, and just put it up like this if he was stealing water. But again, the prosecution says that's not even true. Now, here's where I don't know who was on that jury, and I'll talk about here in a minute a video that I saw of this woman that was renting that I guess 7 people in the jury was Black or something like that, and that even the Black people says that Rick Chow was innocent. Well, I don't know how true that is. I know you're supposed to make a decision based on the preponderance of the evidence, and if at any time there's a doubt that creeps in your mind, then you should say that not necessarily not guilty, but you just can't make a decision. But answer yourself this question. According to Rick Chow, he shot Cyrus because of the fact that he pointed a gun at his son. Yet, Cyrus was shot dead in his back. Wouldn't the bullet go somewhere else if he was pulling the gun? Don't you kind of have to, if you pointing a gun at somebody and the dude's behind you, don't you got to turn around with your chest out and you point the gun? Or if you're trying to run, ain't you gonna go left or right? The bullet should have went somewhere else. Chest, arm, shoulder, not dead square in the back. And that's where I think that whoever made this decision, or if there was Black people in the case, whatever the case, all the jurors somehow missed that. If I was on that trial, I might have voted him guilty just for that. Because the evidence is saying to me there is no way that Cyrus was pointing a gun at Rick Chow's son because he got hit dead in his back. The only way that that could even be true is if Rick Chow's son was running directly in front of Cyrus and he pulled the gun to shoot him in the back, and then Rick Chow was behind him and shot him in the back. But that is not what went down. That is not what the testimony was. They were both chasing him when they were both behind him. Now, as much as we try to get over this hate, there's Asians that still putting out hateful videos. I saw one today of a woman sitting in her Mercedes that was going off about how Black people have problems in their community, and Black people's the reason why Cyrus got shot and his parents can't raise him right, and we should be boycotting. Man, she said some ugly things. And the person that was on the video said she mad because she realizes that the Black people controls now, right now, whether she eats tomorrow or not. Because I guarantee you she had a business, and that business is in a Black neighborhood, and you spouting off like that. This is why the hate continues. This is why Black people is called for a boycott, because of things like that. Now, I will say this. I'll tell you a small story about why I feel this way, and then we'll probably be done. I understand as a Black American, and yes, I stand in solidarity with my community. I haven't been to anything that has been an Asian business since this took place or since the boycott was called for. To me, it's like a union. I am part of the railroad union. If the railroad union went on strike right now and said, do not cross this line to go get on Amtrak, I wouldn't cross that line. As a Black American, I know exactly why this boycott was called, and I know exactly what the reason is behind it. And I know that this is the only voice that we as Black Americans have, is to speak with our dollars, because it's the only time anybody's listening. Look at the Asian community in an uproar. They trying to tell us, don't buy nothing from us then, which the dude knows he's lying. That's why I took down the video, because you can't survive in the Black neighborhood without the Black dollar. And even though he's right, a lot of things that we get does come from China. But some things now is being made in America. Some things can be made in America. Shaquille O'Neal just bought out Reebok. I looked that up. Yes, some things of Reebok is made in China, but there's a shoe that was actually made right here in Reebok. But there was a shoe that's made right here in America. So that means to me that anytime, I don't know why, probably because of labor, but anytime Shaquille O'Neal can say, boom, pull our stuff from China, we're going to make the Reebok right here. But we all know how that works, right? You make a Reebok in America, if the Reebok sells usually for $100, it's probably going to be 200. We get it. But here's a statement I'm going to make that probably a lot of people are not going to agree with, but it's true. Yes, Rick Chow, in my opinion, was racist. He shot down an innocent Black boy while he was running from him. Prosecutors say he'd even steal any water. There's a couple of other Asians that I can't mention right now, but one just recently went to jail because I think he was holding girls hostage. Just like this woman said, I'll agree. Yeah, we got problems in the Black community, but you got problems in the white community, the Hispanic community, definitely the Asian community. But every Asian that's affected right now is not a racist. Every Asian business that's out there is not a racist business. I get what one woman said, though. She knows that, but she's tired of going into these businesses wondering, are you with us or are you against us? But I want the Asian community to understand this. And I want the white community to understand this too, because it happens. When these things happen to the Black community, though, nobody don't care. If one Black person ran out right now and gunned down 3 white people and 3 Asians, boycott Black businesses. Now, one dude went out there and shot all these people, but you want to boycott all the Black businesses. It happens all the time, but nobody says anything. But nobody comes to every Black person not bad. We should figure out what businesses is owned by the good ones. No, y'all should boycott. Black people gotta go. And I know that firsthand. When I was younger, I had a crush on this little white girl. She had a crush on me. And she was like, I want you to come over and meet my parents. And I went, and her dad looked at me like I just escaped the loony bin. And he looked at me and says, I don't like Blacks. All Blacks suck. You can't see my daughter. Now, I was somewhere in that 13, 14, 15 age, still very outspoken because I am my mama's son. And I looked at him and said, what have I done to you? What has Black people done to you? And he says, well, I had a cousin who was raped by a Black man, so all you suck. And I said, do I look like him? I'm not the one who raped your cousin. I'm sorry that happened, but I'm not responsible for what other Black people do. But because his cousin was raped by a Black person, I could not see his daughter. I was asked to leave. Our little date got canceled. So I know what it feels like to be looped into something with somebody else. But get this, you know it's going to happen, so you need to do whatever you can in your community to separate yourself from that. I have not one time seen an Asian video yet that come up and say, look, we sorry about what Rick Chow did. I can't change that. But I own Kim's supermarket down the street. I value the Black dollar. Please don't boycott my store. You guys are all welcome. Come on in anytime you need to. Get what you need. I have seen Asian videos, though, go up that says Rick Chow sucked. There's one dude that said F Rick Chow and like 2 or 3 other Asians that he knew that did something that they weren't supposed to do. And there's been other videos that says they understand why Black people is bad. But again, if that was me and somebody in my community did something and they're like, boycott all Black businesses. Now, I want you guys to understand what all businesses mean. It isn't just the brick and mortar stores you go into when you go to buy something from an Asian market. It's online stores as well. It's TikTok stores. All Asian-owned businesses, all Black-owned businesses is exactly that, all businesses. My podcast can be considered a business. So you're coming to boycott me because of the fact that something that somebody is did. Man, I'll be the first one on the horn. Look here. And everything I'm going to tell you is going to be sincere. I deeply apologize for the actions of somebody that is in my community that did some boneheaded stuff. But we ain't all the same. I fight for you just as much as I fight for my own people. Don't go boycotting my show, please, because of the fact that you want to loop me into the same bed with this person that did something that was ignorant. I haven't seen nothing like that. And I think that those kind of statements is made. I don't really think Black people want to boycott all businesses. They want to boycott the bad one. That's definitely for sure. But they don't want to boycott the ones where they feel like that they are truly accepted and appreciated and their dollar counts more than behind that register. Now, from what I've seen, he's not. I love me some Tokyo Steakhouse. I ain't gonna lie to you about that. We have a Tokyo Steakhouse right down, about a few miles down from my house. We go there all the time when we can. And it's got expensive because of the economic situation that we're kind of in. But every time I've been in there, the dude has always respected me, and I've never had a problem. Now, I'm not saying he can't be behind the scenes, but I don't get that vibe from him. And he has a wall. If you go to any Tokyo Steakhouse, I don't know if you guys have one where you are, but I know that ours is right here in Palmdale and one in Lancaster. There is a wall of nothing but celebrities, Black, white, Mexican, indigenous. I mean, he had Chuck Norris up there. He had Fluffy up there that he's taking pictures with all these guys coming to his restaurant. Now, I don't believe that guy is a racist. If he is, he's got me fooled. But I want everybody to understand that now his business is impacted by the acts of Rick Chow. And if he is a good Asian, that means that we're putting him being able to feed his family in jeopardy. But again, when you have one ignorant person do one ignorant thing, sometimes it loops everybody into that same picture. I'm not saying that is right, but that's what's happening. So let me say rest in peace to Cyrus Carmack-Belton. I really hope these type of cases stop. I don't know what gets into people sometime that they just can't accept the fact that everybody here, regardless of skin tone, are humans. But I know tonight, Cyrus's mom is still aching from the pain of what happened, and it's like salt in the wounds that the guy who murdered him was acquitted. And just so you guys understand, who don't understand American law, that's it. There is no recourse. That's why there's a civil suit going on. In America, once you are tried for a crime like murder and you are found to be innocent, that's it. Double jeopardy kicks in, which means you can never be tried for that particular offense ever again. So my condolences to Cyrus Carmack-Belton's family. May he rest in peace. And I hope that the Asian community and the Black community, we can find some common ground relatively soon before it is too late. All right, guys, thank you for joining me for this one. I know you have many choices in true crime and interview podcasts, and I am grateful that I'm one of your choices. Always remember you have been listening to the only three-faceted podcast of its kind. Be good to yourself and each other. And always remember, always stay humble. An act of kindness can make someone's day. A little love and compassion can go a long way. And that there is an extraordinary person in all of us. I'll catch you guys on the next one.